It really strikes you how connected everything actually is.
Hmm.
Our own well-being, our health. It's not really separate from the planet's health, is it?
No, not at all. And it's true. Big things like climate change, they can feel, well, pretty daunting.
Totally daunting. And I think we sometimes overlook the power we have in just our everyday choices.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel like, just one person can't make a difference. A drop in the ocean.
Yeah, that drop in the ocean feeling. But the fascinating part, and with some material we've looked at really highlights, is how all those individual drops together.
They can actually shape the tide. Yeah.
Exactly. So we've seen this idea that seemingly small actions, things we do every day, can add up to a pretty significant positive impact for us and, well, for the planet too.
Right.
So our sort of mission today is to really dive into those actionable, everyday steps you can actually take.
And what's interesting right from the start is the focus on changes that feel manageable, things you can actually do.
Yeah.
They have a real effect, but they don't demand like a complete upheaval of your whole routine.
Okay, let's get specific then. One of the first things that jumps out from the source is this idea of plant-forward meals.
Hmm.
Now, this isn't suddenly saying everyone needs to go vegetarian or vegan overnight, right? What's the core idea?
Well, think of it more like making plants the star of your plate more often, just shifting the balance a bit.
Okay.
And an interesting aspect here is the dual benefit. It works on two levels.
Right.
So for your own health, we know this, right? Eating more fruits, vegetables, whole grains,
Yeah.
it's linked to a lower risk of all sorts of diseases. That's pretty well established.
Sure, makes sense.
But then connecting it to the bigger picture, food production, it has a massive environmental footprint.
Huge.
And generally speaking, plant-based foods, they just require fewer resources, less land, less water, and generate fewer emissions compared to many animal products.
Right, so it's nourishing ourselves, but in a way that's also a bit kinder to the environment, less strain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One action, two positive outcomes.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so food is one piece. The source also touches on how we get around our travel,
Yeah, transportation.
specifically mentioning things like bikes and public transport.
And this brings up a key question about our habits, doesn't it? How often do we just automatically reach for the car keys, even for short trips?
Guilty as charged sometimes, I have to admit.
We all are. But the source points out that choosing to bike, or maybe hop on the bus or train for those shorter distances, it offers some really compelling advantages.
And it's not just about cutting down on emissions, like the obvious environmental benefit, is it? There's a personal upside too.
Precisely. That's the other side of the coin again. Building a bike ride into your commute or deciding to walk to the shop instead of driving, it naturally introduces physical activity into your day.
Yeah.
We all know how crucial exercise is, not just for our bodies, but for our mental well-being too. Stress reduction, all that. So again, these transportation choices, they have these sort of interconnected benefits. Good for you, good for the air we breathe.
Okay, food, transport. Now, this next idea the source brings up is quite interesting. It sounds simple. Sharing our pledges. Just telling people what we intend to do. What's the real power behind that? Seems almost too easy.
Well, it taps into something powerful. Social influence. Psychology, really.
Oh, so?
When we actually state our commitments out loud, even small ones like, I'm going to try meatless Mondays, or I'll bike to work once a week,
Yeah.
it can create a subtle sense of accountability for ourselves. But maybe more importantly, it can have this ripple effect.
Ah.
It can
Yeah.
genuinely inspire people around us, friends, family, neighbors, to maybe think about their own actions too. You see your neighbor consistently biking to the store.
Right.
It might just plant a seed, make them reconsider their own quick car trips. It normalizes the behavior.
So it's like a positive nudge.
Yeah.
Using our social connections for good, almost.
Exactly. A gentle, positive influence.
And I really appreciate how the source keeps bringing it back to these small steps. It feels important. It helps counter that feeling of helplessness you can get when facing these huge global challenges.
That's such a crucial point, because that feeling can be paralyzing, can't it?
Definitely.
The source explicitly notes that these collective small actions, when lots of people do them, can help move the needle in a positive direction.
Okay.
It's really about recognizing that big change is often just the sum of many, many individual contributions adding up.
Okay, so just to quickly recap the main takeaways we've touched on.
Yeah, let's pull it together.
We've looked at the value in shifting towards more plant-forward meals, maybe making plants the focus more often.
Dual benefits there.
Right. Then opting for sustainable transportation whenever feasible, biking, walking, public transit, again, good for you, good for the planet.
Yep, another win-win.
And finally, this perhaps surprisingly powerful act of just sharing our intentions, our pledges with others, creating that ripple effect.
And the core message running through all of this is that these aren't just isolated choices you make in a vacuum.
No.
They represent interconnected ways we can positively influence our own health and, at the same time, the health of our planet. It's about seeing the links.
Understanding the broader consequences of our daily decisions, even the small ones.
Precisely.
So maybe something for you to think about as you go about your day today or this week.
Yeah?
Consider this. Which of these small steps actually resonates most with you right now? Is it the food, the travel, the sharing?
It's a good prompt.
And how might that one choice, that seemingly minor adjustment, contribute to a much larger story of well-being, both for yourself and for the world around you?